Before you sign this settlement agreement, I'd like to ask you one more question. What happens if your ex-wife stops making payments on the joint credit card?
But she agreed to take responsibility for it. Can't we just put that in our settlement agreement?
We certainly can include that in the settlement agreement, but that's not the only question you should be asking.
This is general divorce information. Laws vary, so check with a legal professional in your area.
Laws vary, but smart strategies don't. This channel helps you avoid common mistakes and make better decisions during divorce. Today, we'll answer one of the biggest questions about debt after divorce, and a few others that many people don't think to ask until it's too late. Last time we discussed asset division. Today, we'll cover debt division. Since asset division, debt division, and buyout options are closely connected, you be sure to watch all 3 episodes.
Let's look at a fictional divorce case based on common situations people experience. After 15 years of marriage, John thought dividing the house would be the hardest part. He was wrong.
When my wife and I decided to get divorced, I thought we could sit down, divide everything fairly, and move on. Then we started talking about our debts. We have a mortgage, 2 car loans, and several credit cards. At first, I thought it would be simple. The credit card in my name would be my responsibility, the one in my wife's name would be hers. And we just split the joint account. But the more we talked about it, the more confused I became. It felt like every answer led to another question.
John's first question is, does the name on the account determine who is responsible for the debt, Mark?
Not necessarily. Before deciding who will generally be responsible for a debt, a court first asks an important question. Is this a debt that belongs to the marriage, or is it a debt that belongs to just one spouse? That's what people mean when they use the terms marital debt and separate debt. Generally speaking, debt incurred during the marriage for the benefit of the family is often considered marital debt. Debt that existed before the marriage or debt incurred after separation is more likely to be considered separate debt. Remember, these are general principles, and the laws in your state may be different.
Mark, let's go back to the question we heard at the beginning. If John's settlement agreement says his wife will be responsible for the joint credit card, can the lender still contact John if the payments aren't made?
In some situations, yes. A divorce settlement can determine who is generally responsible for making payments between the spouses. However, it doesn't automatically change the agreement you have with the lender. If your name remains on a joint credit card or loan, the lender may still have rights under that credit agreement, even if your divorce settlement says your former spouse will make the payments. That's why it's important to understand not only what your divorce settlement says, but also whether your name is still legally tied to the debt.
If someone is worried about that before signing a settlement agreement, what should they do, Mark?
Don't wait until after the divorce is finalized to ask those questions. Talk with your attorney about your options before signing a settlement agreement. Depending on your situation, there may be ways to help reduce future problems, such as closing a joint credit card to new charges, refinancing a loan, or removing a spouse's name from an account if the lender allows it. Every situation is different, so it's also a good idea to understand the lender's requirements before making any decisions.
Now that we've answered the question from the opening, let's go back to John's story.
I finally understood that just because my wife agreed to pay the joint credit card didn't necessarily mean the lender couldn't still contact me. But then I realized I still had another question. If most of our debts are considered marital debts, how does a court decide who is responsible for paying them? Do we each pay half? Does the person whose name is on the loan pay it, or does the court decide?
Those are great questions. Mark, how does a court generally decide who will be responsible for marital debt?
The answer depends on the laws in your state. One reason is that states use different legal systems. Some states follow community property rules where marital property and debt are generally divided equally. Most other states, including Illinois, follow equitable distribution, where the court generally tries to divide property and debt in a way the law considers fair. Fair doesn't always mean everything is divided 50-50. Many people assume marital debt is automatically divided equally, but that's not always the case. In many states, the court generally tries to divide both assets and debts in a way the law considers fair. That doesn't necessarily mean everything is split 50-50. And it doesn't necessarily mean the person whose name is on the account will always be responsible for the debt. Every situation is different, and the court may consider a variety of factors when deciding what is fair.
Can you give us an example?
Certainly. Let's go back to John's situation. John mentioned that he and his wife have a mortgage on their home. Suppose John wants to keep the house after the divorce. That's where another important question comes up.
Actually, that's exactly what I was wondering. I'd really like to keep the house. It's only about 15 minutes from my job, and I grew up in this neighborhood. If I keep the house, does that automatically mean the mortgage becomes my responsibility?
That's an excellent question, John. The short answer is not necessarily. Keeping the house and being responsible for the mortgage aren't always the same thing. Before we wrap up, remember this. Every divorce is different. Understanding the difference between marital and separate debt, knowing that settlement agreements don't automatically change your agreement with a lender, and recognizing that state laws vary can help you ask better questions and make more informed decisions during your divorce. And John's question brings up another important topic. Sometimes one spouse wants to keep an asset, such as the house or even a car. In those situations, you may hear the term buyout. But what exactly does that mean, and when is it an option? We'll answer those questions in our next episode.
In our next episode, we'll explain what a buyout is, when it may be available, and the important questions to ask before deciding whether it's the right choice for you.
When you understand the road ahead, you can guide your divorce in the direction that truly works for your life. And even if you hire a great attorney, you should still stay in the driver's seat, not the back seat where you can't see where things are headed. But you don't have to go through this alone. The right knowledge at the right time can change everything. Laws vary, but smart strategies don't. Divorce information, always by your side.